Hi, my name is James Mahoney. I'm a writer, filmmaker. Thanks for checking out my third episode of I, Filmmaker. In the first part, I usually talk about either the past, present, or future project of my own. Next part, I'll be reviewing either a show or a film. In the third part, I'll be talking about either stories, story scope, character development, that kind of thing. I want to talk about, this episode is actually called White Jade. During the beginning of 2002, I did several things. One, I wrote a short film, which you can watch the previous episode for that. But I wrote a play. I was thinking about trying to direct a play in a local playhouse. But then I also wrote a first draft of a screenplay. First time I'd ever written a full for feature film screenplay. I went to a Chinese restaurant. It was funny, I remember it because there was a family that owned it, and they had a table where they had their family members at the restaurant. The people who owned it had their family there, and little kids and stuffed animals, and they're all eating together. It was a really cool thing, and I was all alone. And I either conceived or started, I forget exactly how it worked, but I started this screenplay called White Jade. It takes place in futuristic Japan. So, like I said, in the early part of then I went home, and in the early part, and during the next little while, I started to write an 80-page first draft of White Jade. My idea about screenplays, because I plan on doing my own films, producing my own projects. My idea with writing this screenplay was not to make it, was to sell it and use to the industry, and use that money that I get for writing the screenplay to produce my own projects. That was the concept. So anyway, I had this 80-page first draft done. Probably like July of 2002, I moved back to California. And I was struggling financially, getting work, keeping work. I burnt out on office jobs, but I also needed to eat, and et cetera, and pay my car payment. And it was a difficult time financially. In 2004, I picked up White Jade again and started pumping hundreds of hours into it, new edition after new edition. And I finally completed it. And a completed screenplay, it was like 121 pages. And then I created query letters, and I sent them off to writing agents and tried to find an agent to read my screenplay so that they would then represent my screenplay. I got lists, and I sent tons of query letters. When I say tons, I don't remember how many, 8 to 16 is not tons. So it was something, I think it was something like that. But I got no response. No agents responded to me. And I kind of put my dreams down for a while. I needed to. But in 2005, 2006, I decided, well, with White Jade, I picked White Jade up again. And I said, if I ever have to pitch this to somebody, I've heard that a lot of producers don't get a visual, they can read a script and not get an idea of what it's going to look like. So I hired a student artist to create drawings for White Jade, as I call them eye candy. So if I went into a room and I was pitching White Jade, you should get this screenplay, or even to make the film, I would show them pictures, they could read it, but then I would show them pictures and talk about it. And these pictures were designed to give them a visual of what this film could be. I was so impressed with the artist that I rehired her to do 8 comic book pages, including 2 possible covers for the first episode. And I love them. I then submitted those comic book pages to, I think it was Dark Horse Comics and a couple other independent ones. I didn't submit them to DC or Marvel because I just felt they were too big. And this is kind of something that I thought might work better for an independent comic book company. I was either denied or didn't hear back from the comic book companies. I can't remember. I think I heard back from one, but so I put White Jade down again. Like end of 2006 to 2011, I just played a lot of World of Warcraft. Stepped away from my dreams again. But in 2013 and in 2012, I did a writing blog, tons of stuff, poetry, novellas, fantasy novel, all kinds of stuff. But then in 2013, I met a girl I became friends with, who was in college for film and writing and acting, and something else I think too. And I showed them my short film, and they were like, "Wow, you're a great editor," which I had never heard. And I was really excited to hear that. Anyway, we were great. We were best friends for like a year and a half, and then we started dating, and then we've been dating since the end of 2014. And she moved out here, and we lived with my mom and her boyfriend. And in the end of 2015, I decided I wanted to, for the hell of it, for the fun of it, I missed filmmaking. And so I decided to do film a mock trailer for White Jade. And I did it with her because she was an actress. And I was so inspired by it, I decided to break the screenplay into 16 parts and make a 16 episode web series, because YouTube was becoming very great for people that wanted to make things, filmmakers that wanted to do things that didn't have a large budget, etc., but also wanted to get their stuff to people. Literally then in 2016, I spent doing pre-production for White Jade, like 10 months of work. And it was going really well. I had like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 actors lined up. I had a visual artist that was going to create the world in the background, the future Tokyo world. I had worked with students at a college, talked to the guy that ran a class of costume designers, and I literally gave them all my information, and then they all, for like their final projects, they created concepts for the way that the costumes would be in it. There was so much involved in this. I got equipment. I got a better video camera. Had sound issues. Got us a microphone that you plugged in and to the camera, and it would use the battery instead of having its own battery. It used the battery in the camera to operate. So the microphone. What ended up happening with that is that there was an actor that was going to be leaving town. I think he was going to Korea. So we filmed our first couple scenes of the web series early. They were from like episode 7 and 11 because he was going to be out of town. He didn't have a huge role, but we wanted to get his scenes filmed. And when we filmed his scenes and we listened to it later, there was like a hissing sound. And it came to find out that this mic had it created. I think it's because it plugged into the camera into the battery of the camera. I guess it created some kind of background hiss, and it's just pretty much makes the mic useless. I actually got I returned it to Amazon, and they credited it. And then it let me keep it. Not that I ever have a use for it, but then I purchased one of these task cams. Guy who was going to be doing visual effects suggested this thing for audio, though I've never recorded audio and then tried to line it up with video footage. And that seems like a simple thing. It's just nothing I've ever done, because I'd only done the one short film and I never got into that degree of needing to do something like that. Yeah, so like in September, so we started rehearsals with the actors, and we filmed those first 2 scenes, and I kind of made a rookie error. I kind of went guerrilla filmmaker on it, because what I did is we're supposed to have these lights in the scene. We're going to add visual effects later for behind the actor, and a black fabric behind him. But what I did is we were filming we had white light. I wanted to be. I changed the light bulbs to blue bulbs, so then we filmed in this kind of dark. And lighting is definitely not my thing. As regards technically, I don't, that's not something I've educated myself in. So what ended up happening by putting blue light bulbs in this scene to give that ambiance, it made the footage kind of grady. Some people that have seen the footage say it it lends itself to the overall feeling. But then, other people think you can see the pixels or whatever. Somebody who wasn't trying to guerrilla filmmake would have shot it with regular lighting and then gone in with visual effects and make it look like there was a blue light in the room. It's okay. The whole thing is a learning thing for me anyway. It's just the next level of film school, really. Even if with the web series, I'm sure it would have gotten better and better as we shot them. I didn't mind learning on the way. But then I ran into some difficulties in my life around that period. I was building this Kickstarter. I had it ready to go by the beginning of 2017, but at the end of 2016, went through a bunch of stuff, and then in the early part of 2017, Kickstarter was ready to go and everything. The visual effects person, he'd been very, very busy. He was going to kind of be my right-hand man for the whole thing, but overall pre-production, he just wasn't available. He had a bunch of job stuff going on. Then he moved from like Washington to California, I believe, San Diego. But by the time we finally started to communicate, when I was just about ready to start filming the web series, it wasn't clicking, and I had to kind of move on from him, which left me without a visual effects person. Not only a visual effects person, one that was doing it for free, but this guy was super talented and really believed and saw the vision that I was trying to do. So I was looking for new visual effects people, but the things that I was dealing with in my life became too overwhelming, and I had to put the project on hold. So that's what happened with White Jade. Just so you know, on this site, I have some behind scenes stuff, so some sword training video footage. I have a rehearsal between the main actors. The main actress. I don't have any video footage of her scenes yet. We didn't quite get there. And then I think we did rehearse, but we didn't. I don't know. But yeah, we have one rehearsal on here, and then I have a couple other White Jade videos. I have several things on here. Yeah, so I'm debating whether I might do a second part to this episode of I, Filmmaker, because I might want to watch the scenes with you that I filmed. They're rough, and there were no visual effects. It's a little grainy, and the sound has the hiss. There's all kinds of things that probably may have made it not usable. Hadn't determined that yet, but never got there. So I might want to actually watch those videos with you, but we'll go over that in the next episode. And I think now I want to move on to the second portion of I, Filmmaker, this episode. All right, for the second part of my I, Filmmaker, if I have any kind of followers right now, I'm just starting this series, so if I have anybody that's enjoying this, they may like, I'll forget this guy, because well, I'm going to try to probably review and things that I've seen between episodes, that I've watched between like episode this episode between this week and next week. I'll probably, whatever I watch, and I'll probably get a review on something like that, as opposed to just picking something random. But I'm not sure yet. I'm still figuring out the format of this show. I will say this. All right. I saw the original Twilight years ago. I don't even think I saw it in the theater. It was like 2008. In fact, I know I didn't see it in the theater. I actually liked it. And I thought the second one was, I liked part of the second one. I know the character Veronica, the redheaded bad guy, she was, the way they filmed it and everything. Anyway, I just want to say this. I've never seen the third, fourth, and fifth Twilight, ever. But I got this new YouTube TV thing, and I recorded the last three of the Twilight films. You got to pass the commercial and whatever, because it's filmed off like regular TV-ish kind of broadcasting. Well, let me just say this about the original. Okay, what I heard back then is I knew it was a huge success. Recently read it did like $3 billion. All the films together did like $3 billion. Obviously, it's a financial success. But mostly what I heard about Twilight was people making fun of the glittery vampires, because when they went in the sunlight, when the main character went in the sunlight, he was like, his skin would glitter, as opposed to getting burned in the sun like other vampire stories. He just kind of became kind of glittery, and he you could tell he wasn't human if you could see him when you walk in the sun, because other than that, he's kind of pale and his eyes are trippy. But for the most part, they look pretty human, and except for when they walked in the sun. And maybe that's why they're in Seattle. I think it was in Seattle. Anyway, he was definitely in Washington. Let me just say this about the original Twilight. Okay. To me, it was like a mix vampire story / 91210, that old TV show. You guys probably went 91210. It's it was a teenage soap opera mixed with a vampire theme. But I enjoyed it, and I admit I like stuff about like stories about people in high school and things like that. I had a rough time in high school. When I say rough, anyway, I don't want to go into that. I wasn't like gigantically bullied or anything, but didn't talk, and I was very shy, and it was just school was really rough for me. Anyway, so I like stories that take place in high school. I get to kind of live, vicariously live through that stuff. And John Hughes is one of my heroes, and even Breakfast Club. Anyway, I'm kind of going off base here. I like the first Twilight. First of all, I love the main actor. I just think he's a great actor. He was good in Harry Potter too, but he's just a really good actor. The actress, I think people had mixed feelings about her. I feel like it would have been bad to just have some. I think that they chose well. I was not a fan of her, but looking at it, I just don't think. I think that there's something kind of different about her, quirky about her, that kind of made her seem more like a person a little bit more than maybe some other character they might have cast. Anyway, the location of Twilight is beautiful. Washington, unbelievable. The actors and the cast are very good. The main lead character and his family. I love all the characters. Characters are really big to me. I mentioned this in probably one of my early episodes. Even if the other things suck, if they have good characters, there's something there for me. I can enjoy a production so I really liked several of the characters in Twilight, and especially the lead guy. Alice is probably my favorite character, and that kind of maintained all the way through. But the main actor was really great. Yeah. So as a filmmaker, location beautiful, good characters. The teenage thing was really in the first one. It really, the first one kind of stands on its own in regards to what it is. You move into the other ones, you have to start accepting things that you may or may not like. I am an extreme romantic, and I absolutely love vampires. So maybe this series is meant for me, and it has strong characters. But I will say, the last three films for me, there's stuff that I just had to roll with, and there is stuff that I really liked. And the characters were consistent all the way through the film, all of them, which I think I was impressed by, because a lot of those actors are going through. They got a lot of attention, a lot of fame during that period. And I always wonder how it's going to affect the actors when they come back to film sequels. And one of the best cases of it's not seeming to affect people was Harry Potter. So I'll have to go out. I've got to talk about Harry Potter at some point, because that cast that whole production was insane. Anyway, so bottom line, I enjoyed Twilight 3, 4, 5. The only shocking thing for me was that in the third film, they replaced the Veronica actress, which I thought was like the best part of the second film, because of the cool scenes where she's running through the forest being hunted by wolves or whatever. And as a filmmaker, I would watch the second Twilight just for those scenes. I just think they're so cool. The use of music in Twilight is awesome. So the location, music, characters. Other things, hit and miss. But those three things, solid. And for me, I actually enjoyed it probably more than other people. And I'm kind of like, God, people just talked about the glittery vampires. I think I don't want to insult anybody, but I think that's kind of lame. That's what mainly I heard from this series. All right, for this third and final part of Filmmaker, let me just start by saying Shawshank Redemption is my third favorite film. It's Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Shawshank Redemption. And I know there's a lot of other amazing films out there. I was shocked by Shawshank Redemption, and sadly I never saw it in the theater. Partly because of the name, probably. I think that really turned people away from it. That's just being honest. I think it really did well when it went to video. People were like, whoa. I think Morgan Freeman got an Oscar for it. Morgan Freeman is just awesome. But I want to talk about the character Andy Dufresne that Tim Robbins played. I always felt like, and I love Morgan Freeman. The guy is an unbelievable actor, and I always felt like Tim Robbins should have gotten, and I don't know who he would have competed against, that he should have got an Oscar for this role as Andy Dufresne. That character is masterful. I have to say, when you take a short story, I believe, I know it's a story by Stephen King. The screenwriter was a guy named Frank Darabont, and he ended up, I think, working as a guy who helped people with their scripts, but he was amazing. The script was everything about this movie is perfect to me. But the character Andy Dufresne, I talk about character importance to me, character development. I mean, his evolution was staggering. It's almost hard to review, to talk about this because I feel so strongly about it. His moments, his quiet moments, and they did it in the writing too. Stephen King is a genius, and Frank Darabont is, I guess, pretty much a genius, because just the gray of the overall film, the use of music, the angles, but I'm really talking in this portion about the character of Andy Dufresne. There's something about him, there's a quietness there. There really was something that felt like it could survive everything it was going through by being in prison all those years. And they talk about it to a degree in the book. Sorry, in the movie. I have not read the book or the short story, if that's what it was. Boy, I didn't realize it'd be so hard to talk about him. Like I said, there's quiet about him. There's something about him that, and they say this in the story, I think, that he's kind of separate from the surroundings that he's in, and they're such difficult, horrible surroundings. And he was innocent. Okay, I guess going into the story, I mean, that's just brilliant story work, but I don't know if I'm being helpful at all. You might watch it again and pay attention to him. Every scene, every moment with that character, Tim Robbins, every moment in that film, he was unbelievable. You should probably, if you're a filmmaker or a writer or a film writer, you should go back and watch Shawshank Redemption and focus on him. I know he's surrounded by great music, great cinematography, great co-stars, especially Morgan Freeman. Clancy Brown was in that, and he was also awesome. But I'm just going to tell you this, as a filmmaker and a writer, sit back, watch Shawshank Redemption from the very beginning. Watch his character evolve from where he is in the beginning all the way through to the end. And spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. This, the ending is, but not much of a spoiler. But yeah. So this, I feel like I really kind of rambled here a little bit about this, but I'm a very visceral and visual filmmaker, so it's just, he strikes me in his moments. From the beginning in the car when he's like dropping bullets and just a mess, to that, just like they say in the movie, that he strolls. But no, like even the scene behind me, he's so ethereal. He's so like, there's an air about it, like he's yeah. So as I'm done with the rambling, I wish I could have given a better analysis of why this character was so good. But I feel that the best way to truly appreciate and learn from this character is to watch the film again with the intent of focusing on that character and the little things he does, the things he says, the things he doesn't say, the looks, the emotions, the control, the genuineness, the sincerity. Anyway, yeah, check him out. So that is the end of episode 3 of I, Filmmaker. Like I said, I may do a part 2 so that I can kind of maybe watch some of the scenes, the 2 scenes that I filmed for White Jade. I might do a part 2 to this. It'll still be episode 4, but I think I might continue with White Jade on the next one, or not. We'll see. I appreciate you checking this out, and my Twitter. See you on Twitter, and thanks for watching.